Disney's 1998 animated movie Mulan is much beloved by fans all over the world. While the 2020 release of the live-action version was a box office flop, largely due to the effect of the pandemic, the tale of Mulan remains an inspiration for many. It may surprise you to know that the actual narrative was written over 1,500 years ago, and the story is considered to be older still. What the original tale lacks in magical beings and romantic interest, it makes up for with longevity. Join us as we explore the real history behind this legendary female warrior. Mulan may not have been based on a real person, but her story has captured people's imagination since around 400 CE. The earliest written reference to her is a sonnet written by an unknown poet called the Ballad of Mulan. However, this was likely a well-known folk story before it was written down. Many historians believe that the 392-character ballad was written by a poet who lived during the late Northern Wei Dynasty that spanned the years between 386 and 534 CE. The Wei Dynasty was founded by the Tuoba tribe, whose members were non-Han Chinese and conquered small northern states in the late 4th century. They adopted the name Wei for their kingdom and established their capital at Pingcheng. It is thought that the original tale of Mulan came from the Tuoba, and the famous poem was a Chinese translation of a Tuoba folk song. During the expansion of the Wei Dynasty, they had to defend their newly won lands from other northern nomads until they mounted a large offensive against nomadic tribes from outer Mongolia. In 429 CE, the emperor, or Khan, of the northern Wei went to war against a Mongolic state called Rouran, which is thought to be the time in which the original tale of Mulan is set. The Wei defeated Rouran and unified northern China around 439 CE, securing their territories and solidifying their empire. The original ballad tells of Mulan, whose father has been called to military service. Because his son is too young to go to war, Mulan volunteers to go in his stead. She leaves her home after saying goodbye to her parents, who are aware of her plans. Disguised as a man, she joins the army and fights for 12 years, 10 in some translations, distinguishing herself as a skilled warrior. When her service is up, she is honored alongside her fellow soldiers. However, when the time comes to bestow titles, Mulan simply asks for a horse on which to ride home. She returns to her mother and father and changes into her female attire, surprising her fellow soldiers, who were unaware that she was a woman. The poem ends with Mulan saying that it is easy to tell the difference between male and female rabbits or hares until they are running side by side. In the original ballad, the emperor is called Khan, a title used to describe Mongol leaders, which indicates the ethnic origins of the story. Another hint to its Mongolian origins is the name Mulan. In Chinese, it means magnolia flower, but research tracing the name's roots suggests that it was originally a masculine name of Tuoba origin. The story of Mulan has changed throughout the centuries, depending on who was telling the tale. In the 16th century, her story was made into a play that leans heavily into how Mulan's actions will affect her eligibility. The story is also altered to include the practice of foot binding, which was popular from the 10th to the early 20th century. In order to wear warrior shoes, she unbinds her feet and worries that, in doing so, she will ruin her chances of getting married. Upon her return home, her parents tell her that they have found her a husband, and Mulan gratefully agrees to the match, revealing to her new husband that she is embarrassed that I must have returned from weapons and war, no good enough a match for you. In the 17th century, Mulan was described as a devoutly chaste woman. After it's discovered that she is female, the emperor summons her to be his consort, and, unable to choose between her loyalty to her emperor and her commitment to chastity, she kills herself over her father's grave. The 20th century saw many iterations of her story. During the Sino-Japanese War, she became a symbol of political propaganda, and the Japanese replaced the Mongols in her story. During the Cultural Revolution, an opera based on her story argued for female equality, and women in the Red Guard wore male uniforms in a nod to her legacy. In 1976, Mulan made her way west in the book Warrior Woman by Maxine Hong Kingston. From there, she found her way into American pop culture, becoming a Disney princess in 1998. Each version of her story seems to give more insight into gender roles at the time of writing. But was it possible that a female warrior like Mulan existed? Thanks to the rise in popularity of bioarchaeology, the study of history based on human remains, We know that the ancient warriors that rode across the plains of Inner Mongolia were not always male. Anthropologist Christine Lee asserts that Mulan would have grown up in ancient Mongolia and been part of the Xianbei nomads. In her studies of ancient remains in the area, she has found evidence that the women were just as active as men, and not only that, but they were involved in the same activities, including horseback riding and archery. Female bones in the area also show signs of trauma linked to combat. Broken arms from defensive injuries and damaged knuckles from fighting hand-to-hand have been found on female skeletons. During her studies, Lee also found that graves thought to have contained male warriors actually held the remains of female ones, an oversight that archaeologists have made in the past through the assumption that all ancient warriors would have been men. Aside from the bioarchaeological evidence, Chinese history has its fair share of documented female warriors. Around 1040 BCE, a girl called Fu Hao was born. She received a military upbringing and was educated in the art of war. When she was grown, King Wu Ding added her to his harem of 64 wives, but Fu Hao quickly became his favorite. She was given the official title of a queen and became his second-in-command in the administration of his kingdom and in battle. She led her army of 13,000 troops in many successful military campaigns, for which her husband awarded her a fiefdom. She was buried in an elaborately adorned tomb, along with 16 enslaved people who were buried alive to serve her in the afterlife. Shun Guan was born in the early 300s CE, and it is presumed that she received military training as a child. This hypothesis comes from the record of her exploits in the Book of Jin. According to this book, as a child, Shun Guan was unusually temperate and lived with her father in the city of Wancheng. When she was 13, her city came under siege. Their army was outnumbered, and when they began running out of food, they realized that someone would have to seek reinforcements. Shun Guan volunteered and was put in charge of several thousand soldiers. In the dead of night, she led her troops over the city's walls and through the enemy forces surrounding the city. Shun Guan was on the front lines of every battle, supervising the generals and soldiers. She was able to mount a successful escape, and upon hearing that reinforcements were on their way, the attacking army fled. The 13-year-old Shun Guan saved her city and secured her place in history. In the early 600s, a military commander, Li Yuan, rose against an unjust emperor named Yang Di. His son-in-law and leader of the palace guard joined him while his daughter, Ping Yang, escaped to their family estate. While her husband and father began to mobilize a rebellion against Yang Di, Ping Yang used her family's money to feed starving villagers across the country. Her generosity earned her the respect and loyalty of the people, and soon she began to build up an army. As the army's commander, Ping Yang forbade looting and pillaging, instead using her forces to distribute food. As her reputation as a liberator grew, so did the number of soldiers joining her. She led her army to unite with the forces commanded by her father and husband, and with her help, they defeated Yang Di. She died at the age of 23 and was given a formal military funeral. In the 1100s, a singer and drummer named Liang Hongyu married soldier Han Shizhong. At the time, China was being invaded by the Xiongnu, or Jin tribes. Liang Hongyu aided her husband in his military endeavors, commanding battles using her drumming skills and flags to communicate between battalions. In 1129, her unique forms of communication helped their 8,000-man army beat an enemy force of 100,000. However, after the emperor they had fought to defend executed a national hero, Liang Hongyu and her husband quit their position in favor of a solitary life. In 1630, the Ming Dynasty faced internal and external problems. The Manchu people from the northeast were threatening to close in on the capital, and so the most decorated general of the Ming was called on to defend the city. Qin Liangyu had an extremely successful military career and was a woman. Born in 1574 to a local official in Sichuan, Qin Liangyu received the same education as her brothers. She excelled in archery and horse riding and developed a deep sense of loyalty to the Ming Dynasty. She was married at 24 and fought side by side with her husband, leading troops that suppressed a rebellion in 1599, establishing them both as highly capable military leaders. When Qin Liangyu's husband was jailed for treason and died in prison, his son was too young to serve in the military, and his title was passed to Qin Liangyu. Her army was one of the dynasty's most effective fighting forces, and she led many campaigns. When her son was old enough to serve, he carried on his parents' tradition and commanded his unit alongside his wife. A contemporary of Qin Liangyu was Lin Xinyang. Born in 1629 to a struggling military family, she was taught to fight using swords, spears, and martial arts from an early age. By the age of 6, she had mastered these techniques, amazing people with her prowess. Her parents were killed when she was in her early teens, leaving her no other option than to become a prostitute in order to survive. But she didn't give up her training, and while she was honing her martial arts skills, King Zhu Changshu saw her and fell in love. They soon married, and Zhu Changshu asked her to train all of his royal concubines to fight like she did. Soon, she formed a small army of female warriors. When rebels captured Zhu Changshu, Lin Xinyang led her elite forces to rescue her husband. Although they managed to free the king, her diminutive militia was eventually killed by the rebel army. Lin was the last one alive, fighting with all her might until she was ultimately struck down. She was 15 years old. While historians agree that the story of Mulan is a fictional folktale, there have been many women like her throughout history. Not all of them disguise their gender, but as Mulan says, when two rabbits run side by side, how can you tell the female from the male? How would you like to get a deeper understanding of history, impress your friends, and predict the future more accurately based on past events? If this sounds like something you might be into, then check out the brand new Captivating History Book Club by clicking the first link in the description. To learn more about Chinese history, check out our book, History of China, a captivating guide to Chinese history, including events such as the first emperor of China, the Mongol conquests of Genghis Khan, the Opium Wars, and the Cultural Revolution. It's available as an ebook, paperback, and audiobook. If you found the video captivating, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this.